Hello, my friends. I wanted to talk to you today about the subject of conflict. The first thing that I really want to highlight here is that so often, so many of us do everything we can to avoid conflict. And I understand that. I think that that's just a natural thing that we do. We want to try to avoid problems from arising as much as possible because, of course, our life would be so much easier, right? But the point that I feel like is really essential to make here is that some conflict just can't be avoided, and conflict is really a part of life. It's a part of life in every respect. At work, it's a part of life at home, it's a part of life in relationships, it's a part of life with weather patterns, with our health. I mean, it's really just impossible to think that we could have a life without conflict. So, understanding that, it's important to get to a place of acceptance that, yes, we understand that everything is not going to go our way every day. There's nothing wrong with you if you experience conflict. What if we can shift our attention to accepting and expecting and allowing that conflict to occur? And then to being as, I guess, what I would call conflict ready as possible. So let's talk about conflict ready and what that looks like, what I mean when I say conflict ready. One example is if you own a vehicle, if you own a car, if you own a bike, if you own a motorcycle or any kind of vehicle, you must know that car accidents may happen. Property damage, you might have a hailstorm or something and the hail does damage to your vehicle. That happens. Your car could get stolen. Your bikes get stolen all the time. So it's just understanding that with owning property, even this house, having a home, there could be some kind of conflict that arises out of having that property where you may have property damage. So what do you do? If you're conflict ready, you understand that, you accept that, and you prepare for that conflict as best as you can. So you do what you can to drive safely, to avoid car accidents, to take care of your vehicle, to take care of the maintenance, to get your bike tuned up, to do home repairs on your house. You have insurance for those kinds of situations too, so you're setting a little aside just in case. All of that is accepting, being prepared that there may be a time when something might go wrong with your property and you're ready. And emotionally and mentally, we need to build capacity for conflict to arise in relationships and at work and, when we go out in the world. We don't want to be so edgy and so much walking on edge that we have no ability to reason with people, to hear people, listen, to understand someone else's perspective, to be flexible enough in conversation, to not be extremely reactive or be ready to go off on people when they say something that we disagree with. A lot of times, especially in the workplace, that happens where you're expecting that people are going to have your same opinions all the time. People are not going to have your same opinions all the time. There are very diverse opinions of what needs to happen in any professional setting, just like there are in relationships and out in the world and in politics. So we have to be ready to understand that there are people who have different opinions and different views, and understand that with that, it may create conflict in conversations. It may create discomfort in conversations, but we need to be ready to still engage with people and have a plan for how we're going to take care of ourselves and how we're going to maintain respect in those situations. So conflict ready is basically having tools in your toolkit so that you can pull them out when you need them. You may be in a situation where something happens unexpectedly and suddenly, and you're really not, and that actually can happen. I think going back to the car accident example, that's one example of something that everything's going fine, women, and bam, a collision happens and whoa, where did that come from? It came from out of nowhere. But we have to be ready for that and understand that those things do happen. Winter in Minnesota, driving on the roads is always the case that we have to be really super careful, because in the Midwest there's ice and it gets slippery, and I'm always thinking about that. I'm always, doing the best I can to stay safe, but also understanding that I got to give myself some grace, and even the people driving around me, because roads are slippery. And what are you going to do? You're going to have your seatbelt on and do the best you can to make it work. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this again because it's important to understand that not all conflict is avoidable. And I don't even know that it's the best thing to avoid all conflict in all times, because I think we would never have any testimonies if we couldn't, learn from our mistakes, if it was something that we need to be accountable for, or just learn from, even when things just happen to us, just how resilient we are and how we were able to overcome something bad that happened, or some struggles that we may have had in a relationship or at work. So I think that there is some value to meeting conflict where it occurs, and instead of going around it, going through it, because when you go through something, you can actually come out on the other side. Then you can really share your story.